With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
AI is moving fast. So fast, it's hard to keep up. In fact, in ServiceNow's latest AI Maturity Index, scores dipped 20% from last year. But that's okay, because AI isn't a sprint. It's a marathon. You may be behind today, but tomorrow, you could be a pace setter. Dive into ServiceNow's AI Maturity Index and see how you can innovate as fast as your ambitions. Visit servicenow.com/AI maturity.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Have you ever spotted McDonald's hot, crispy fries right as they're being scooped into the carton? And time just stands still. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Welcome to the HCI family of podcasts. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We share our own original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. Join us for practitioner-oriented content around all things leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with the HCI family of podcasts. Jordan Burton, welcome to the conversation today.
Thank you so much, John. Great to be here.
It is a pleasure to be with you. You're joining us from Santa Cruz, California. I'm south of Salt Lake City in...
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast Gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast Gems.
This episode is brought to you by Starbucks. Smooth, bright, deliciously crafted. Introducing Starbucks Sansera Blend, their smoothest, brightest coffee yet. It's a new kind of light roast, one that's packed with so much flavor, it shines no matter how you brew it. So go ahead and try it hot, iced, black, or with a splash of creamer. Visit athome.starbucks.com/Sansera-blend-coffee to bring Starbucks Sansera Blend home.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
Welcome to Sephora. I'm looking for a perfume that's not too perfumey.
I got you.
Serum moisturizer or moisturizer serum.
Let's get into layering.
My concealer is making me look worse.
Sounds like the wrong shade. Let's get you matched.
There's only one store that really gets what you're going for. Get beauty from people who get beauty. Only at Sephora.
Hi, Let's get you a basket.
It's summer. Time to enjoy long days, lazy nights, and zero cooking. Because Uber Eats has deals all summer long. So, when hunger strikes, don't sweat it. Delicious deals are just a tap away on Uber Eats. Enjoy all your favorite food delivered straight to you. Get Burger King, Subway, Popeyes, and hundreds more local favorites and savor every last bite. Now that sounds like a good summer. Order now on Uber Eats. Terms apply. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there's one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to help you make the most of your summer with Michelob Ultra, a superior light beer worth playing for. Play for it with the guys when you're competing to see who can sink more birdies on the golf course, because winning tastes even better with Ultra on the line. Play for Ultra. Fill your fridge with Michelob Ultra this summer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
This episode is brought to you by Hyundai. Get into the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event and get away with a deal so right, it almost feels wrong. Because right now, you can save big on their most popular models, including SUVs like the Hyundai Santa Fe and Santa Fe Hybrid, and the all-electric Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Visit HyundaiUSA.com. Offers end September 2nd, 2025.
Your earbud fell in a coffee cup. You need a taco pick-me-up. When modern life gets rough, grab the timeless taste you love. Paso, the old El Paso.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
On WhatsApp, no one can see or hear your personal messages. Whether it's a voice call, message, or sending a password. To WhatsApp, it's all just this. So whether you're sharing the streaming password in the family chat or trading those late-night voice messages that could basically become a podcast, your personal messages stay between you, your friends, and your family. No one else. Not even us. WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want, like that dream house or ride, is a great feeling. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you save when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Utah, and today we're going to be talking about mastering the art of interviewing, tools and strategies for hiring exceptional talent. And I think everyone wants exceptional talent. We all talk about exceptional talent and how do we attract and retain good people. But let's just say we attract a really great applicant pool and we have all these great people. How do we sift through them? How do we actually know who the best person is to join the team in a given role? And that's really tricky. That's really, really hard. Anyone who's been part of the hiring process knows that it's hard. And in some cases, it just seems like total hit or miss. Like you feel like it's a crapshoot and you don't, you're just as likely to make the wrong choice as the right choice. I know many people feel that way. And so we're going to try to up your game a little bit and give you some tools for how maybe you can tip the scale in your favor so that you can really get great people onto your team and then keep those great people long term so that you can do great, awesome stuff with your organization, with your team. As we get started, I wanted to share Jordan's bio with everybody. Jordan Burton has an unusual job. He is a professional interviewer. Over the past 17 years, he has conducted several hundred multi-hour interviews with CEOs and other C-level candidates on behalf of major private equity firms and corporate boards. He has leveraged his experience to train the leadership teams of top VCs and investors and high growth companies to become exceptional at hiring and interviewing. Having trained over 3,000 executives and investors, Jordan is renowned for his skill on conducting rich, interactive conversations that delve deep into candidates' personal and professional histories. Just thrilled to have the opportunity to sit down with you and chat about this important topic. Anything you would like to highlight by way of your personal and professional background, personal context before we dive on in?
I guess I would just say it's strange to be a professional interviewer. That's not a very common thing you hear many people say, and it certainly wasn't by design. I didn't sort of come out of college thinking this is what I want to do with my career. But really, you hit the nail on the head. It really is like a coin toss. I've seen 7 studies that show that about half the time, hiring managers at all levels get it wrong. And that drew me to sort of leave a business track and pursue this human capital side, because it really is, it feels to me like this untapped, massive source of competitive advantage if you can get way better than 50%. But yeah, I made a big detour in my career, and it's been the best decision I ever made. For 18 years, I've been loving it.
Awesome. Well, yeah, and it sure seems like we should be able to do better than 50%, especially given all the time and energy and resources, effort that gets put into the hiring process. We try to attract great people. We want to write a great job description. We want to send it out and headhunt and find all the great people, right? And then we have crappy processes to actually look through the pool of applicants. It's like kind of mind-boggling that we just don't do a very good job. And then the cost of a bad hire is staggering, especially when you get up to senior levels within an organization. And so not only is it the cost of all the effort to attract a good pool of applicants, but it's the opportunity cost, the lost costs of bad performance, bad fit. It's just a really hard thing. And, I will speak from experience as one who, I'm not a professional interviewer, but I've been on plenty of hiring committees and on that side of the interview process plenty of times. And yeah, it is just, sometimes you feel so confident that someone is going to be amazing and that they're going to work out, and then they just don't. Yeah. And so what is it? What is it about, the process that has broken down? What is it about, how we're approaching those situations, those interactions with candidates?
that is just resulting in a coin toss, because we literally could do a coin toss and save ourselves tons of time,
You
right?
certainly could. Yeah. No, it's interesting, and we've evaluated this pretty thoroughly. And at the end of the day, when you're making a decision about an investment or about an acquisition or about a new product, there's math, there's research, there's data that you can put into this that's, relatively known and certainly quantifiable. There's something about these people decisions that feels inherently different. And you'll notice this is the one aspect of business where you see people really do have very little bottoms up, let's get a whole lot of data, and instead I'm going to go off of that, what Daniel Kahneman would call kind of that system one thinking. What's my gut instinct? How do I feel around this person? And people who have hired hundreds or thousands of people in their careers still go back to this instant. Do I feel this connection with this person? And that does not correlate to a 80, 90% plus hit rate. You actually can put data behind it, but it requires building new skills. It requires a different mentality and bringing that system to that more thorough, data-driven reasoning process to human capital decisions as well. It's absolutely possible to do.
Yeah, and I want to highlight that point real quick. People who really rely on the gut, the intuition piece. I hear that a lot too. People who have been, hiring for decades, who are in senior leadership positions, and they're just like, I just got to trust my gut because it's never led me wrong before. I'm like, really? Has it never led you wrong before? Like, one, I just don't believe it, and two, because we all make mistakes, we all get things wrong, and we're not perfect, and our gut is really, it can be so influenced, whatever we define our gut to be, right?
Yes.
It can be so influenced by all sorts of implicit biases, all sorts of things that can unduly influence us and sway us in one way or another. And what I've seen when people claim like an untarnished track record of like, I don't have any misses, I have like 80, 90% success rate with all my hires, I make the best hiring decisions. When I actually look at those situations, what I see is not that level of a success rate. What I see is an executive or a hiring manager or whomever who retroactively works really hard to justify their hiring decision, right? Because they don't want to be wrong. They want to be proven right. They want, they take great pride in making the right decision. And so when whatever the decision is, whomever they choose is the right decision by just the fact that they chose them. And so then, they do whatever they can to make sure that person, gets extra support or help or whatever. And it doesn't mean that person was the right person. And it doesn't mean that person's successful. It doesn't mean that person has the right fit or the right skills. It doesn't mean that person is succeeding in the way they need to succeed in the role. But the person, the hiring manager, the executive may delude themselves into thinking that they have this great track record when in fact they just don't. And I've seen it so many times with so many people that just have this blind spot. They think that they have this amazing ability, magical ability to discern, literally, I think it's like magic. Like they think they have this magical power to discern like the best possible talent, and they just don't. Nobody has that magical power. And so we have to make more data-driven, data-informed decisions around our hiring processes and the people that we choose, and that doesn't say you can't ever trust your gut, if red flags are going off because you just have that ick feeling, trust that, dig into that, right? Like look for what's giving you that feeling, right? But to just say, I'm going to trust my gut solely and say that's the reason for the hire, man, that's a recipe for disaster.
It certainly is. And I see others that they'll make the decision and they'll probably know at some level that this was not what I was expecting. And then what we do is we try to find a role for them. We try to basically put them in a situation. It's such a threat to my identity to know that I made a mistake. I don't want that to be true. So instead, what I'll do is sort of tweak the role and to lean into the aspects that they're good at and to try to steer away from the liabilities. And you end up, people who have that sort of mentality, you look at their organizations 2, 3, 4 years down the line, and you see a lot of people in special funky roles. and you don't see sort of a coherent organizational design because they've basically hired people and shuffled them around to try to get them to work. But I certainly see those situations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen that so many times. All right, so let's dig in and talk now about, you know, your approach. You're a master interviewer, you're a professional full-time interviewer. Like, what are some of the ways that you've approached this in a more systematic way, you know, to get beyond just this more subjective gut kind of stuff that so many people often rely on so that we can make more data-informed decisions?
Yeah, if I had to distill it into some simple guiding principles, the first is you have to know what you're hiring for.
Yeah.
This goes back to like tweaking roles to fit a person. You need to, before you see the candidate, there's a business need that's driving the need to make a hire at all. What is that business need? How will you know that the person is right? What are the ways that you're gonna track their performance once you bring them on board? What's going to be different about the company or about your life when you bring them on board? So guiding principle number one actually doesn't involve interviewing yet. It's just having clarity on what success looks like in the role. On the interviewing side, I would say there's team best practices. How do we coordinate as a team? But as an individual interviewer, a couple of simple changes in your mindset around an interview and the way that you conduct yourself can give you way better results. So I'll say probably the single most important one, don't treat an interview like the candidate is delivering a performance and you're judging that performance in real time. That's how you get yourself into this subjective bias. Do I like the person? Am I impressed by the person? Our mantra on this is an interview is not a performance. An interview is a data gathering exercise. Right. You are there to get facts about this person's history, about this person's life, roles, performances in their past. How have they actually done? How have they delivered in their prior roles? Gather those facts and use that to inform their probability of success against step one, that role definition you created. So one would just be, you need to view your job as an interviewer is to gather as much relevant information about this person as you can and remove the subjective judgment. If you're going to have a little part of your brain during that interview that's going to be saying, oh, that was a great answer. Oh, wow, that was a whiff. You need to let that go. The one judgment we want you to be making in an interview is, are we on to relevant content? Are we getting data that's useful for this hiring decision? Or should we move on to another story? Right. That would be point number one. I'm happy to go into other ones as well.
Yeah, let's pause there for a second. So I 100% agree on both of those main points. First, you got to know what you're hiring for, like have real clarity around that. The number of times that organizations literally have no idea what they're hiring for, and they just recycle old job postings, right? Job descriptions haven't been updated, job postings haven't been updated. In the meantime, the organization has shifted, the role has shifted. Like, things are dramatically different than perhaps they were 6 months ago, a year ago. Maybe it hasn't been updated in 5 years or whatever. Like, sometimes it's astonishing how long
maybe it was never right.
Yeah, maybe it was never right. Yeah, but let's say it was right at one point. Things change, and things change pretty rapidly oftentimes. And so you got to revisit it, and you have to have real clarity around what you're actually looking for. And in my experience, I would say, like, my default assumption, if I'm going to go work with somebody on this, is to assume they don't have the clarity. They don't have it in the right spot yet, because most of the time they don't. Most of the time they just don't. And so taking the real time up front is going to be very, very important. You can do all the other stuff later on really well, but if you don't have that up front to like know what you're comparing against, to like know what you're actually looking for, you know, you're just going to get total mismatches. You could end up finding a really great person, but they're just not going to fit with what you actually need.
That's
and
right.
then you're stuck, right? And then you talked about, like, so let's assume that happens though. Like, let's do that legwork up front. And that's another reason why it doesn't happen, is it's kind of not so sexy, and like nobody wants to do that. It's kind of like boring, and it's like tedious and whatever. So it often just doesn't get done, right? But let's assume that we've done that. And I view it as not just like administrative work, that's strategic work. Like, that's really important strategic work that needs to happen up front. Let's get that done. And now that we're bringing it in and we have candidates coming in for the interview process, the number of times that I've been on interview panels, part of hiring committees where either we're just reviewing applications at that stage or we're at the interview stage, and it literally is all about the performance, like you said. It's not about their skills. It's not about their past experience. It's not about what they can bring to the table for the company. It's about, did they fumble in answering that question? Did they have a typo on their cover letter? Did they, like, these things that just don't matter, like in the grand scheme of things, they don't matter. Like, should the candidate put their best foot forward? Yes. Should you not have a typo? Yes. Should you make sure that you're taking care of all of those things and try to have really great responses? Of course you should. Sure. But like we can't control what they're going to do. On our end, we're trying to find the best people, not the best performers. That's the person who can put on a great show. We want someone who's going to put on a great, like, actually perform at a high level
in the job.
And those are different things.
They certainly are. Yeah. I think one other mindset shift, once you're in that interview and it's time to gather data and you have that data gathering mindset, there's also a whole lot in the actual approach to gathering that information. We see a lot of mistakes made in basically, one is, I'm going to ask my interview question and I'm going to allow this person to just talk for 3 minutes. And I'm going to see how crisply they package up this story. Instead, we encourage making this a very interactive dialogue where you have an initial question, you try to get to a relevant story from the candidate's past, and then you pull with follow-up questions, you help guide the candidate to what you want to hear. There's all sorts of, you can look all over LinkedIn and sort of advice given to candidates of use the STAR method, make sure that you know how to prepare your stories and have all these, crisp cascading, here's what I did and here's the impact that it had. All of that is great. I would say some candidates have a day job. They're not interviewing all the time. They're delivering really well in their current role, and you're lucky to have gotten their attention. They're a passive candidate. They may not be perfectly prepped. That's okay. It's your job as the interviewer to help guide and navigate them, navigate the candidate through those stories. So we would also say you really need to keep your questions simple and focused on verifiable things that happened in the past. One of the biggest mistakes we see interviewers make, saying, how would you handle a conflict with a peer? If you ask that question of a conflict avoidant person, you'll probably get a good answer. If you say, how would you deal with an underperforming team member? If you had somebody who struggled to take action on underperformers, they could probably give you a good answer. They probably have had multiple bosses in their past coach them on how to do this. The reason they don't do it isn't because they don't know any better. There's usually a motivational, emotional, psychological, some other factor that keeps us from doing the things that we want to do. So we encourage, when you're interviewing somebody, get to stories about what this person, where this person's been, what they've done, the impact they've delivered, the mistakes they've made along the way, instead of asking candidates to give little stump speeches about how they would behave in the future.
Yeah. The best predictor of future performance is past performance, as the saying
Humans
goes,
are not
right?
mutual funds. It's actually past performance is a good predictor of future performance. Spot on.
Yeah. And, it's not perfect, obviously, and every context is different, blah, 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 right? But we don't have that's the thing, is we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what the future holds. And so in the absence of a crystal ball, the best we can do is look at trend lines, right? And trend lines means we look at past performance and we look at over time how things have happened, because that gives us at least the best sense we can possibly have of like what the future trajectory might be. Do we know exactly what it's going to be? No, of course we don't. But it gives us a better sense of what it probably will be than we otherwise are going to get by just giving those hypothetical, how would you handle these situations? A savvy interviewee is an intelligent, savvy interviewee is going to know how to respond to those questions, right? But it's going to be much harder to respond in real time about, how did you handle in the past this specific type of situation in this context or whatever, right? Because you have to be able to like bring up real events and facts and like different things, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I do want to say on this whole thing of the past predicting the future, sometimes I'll hear pushback where they say, well, actually, I think people with a growth mindset, they learn and adapt and they change. Absolutely they do. If you do a good job as an interviewer, you will see those trend lines that you referenced. You will see the trajectory that they're on. And you'll see that there was something that plagued them earlier in their career that they took on, and they saw it as a project to improve in that area. And then you learn about more recent roles and you see that they have improved in that area, right? So it's not to say that people are not dynamic. It's not to say that people don't grow and evolve and advance their skills. For sure they do. But a good interviewer, you can actually plot those trend lines. And you can look out to the future and say, you know what? They haven't ever led leaders. They've been a frontline manager, but they've never led leaders before. What are the data points, the evidence I see in their past that they've been able to make those sort of step function changes? Well, let's look at their evolution from an individual contributor to a manager. What worked well? What were the hiccups along the way? That can help you know how this next step in their evolution might proceed. So we want to make sure we avoid the perception that humans are fixed and that they're never going to change.
Yeah.
But truly, you do want to say, if somebody has a consistent pattern of avoiding details and over delegating them, that's something that's unlikely to change. And if the role requires heavy personal attention, rolling up your sleeves deep in the details, let's do this person a favor and not hire them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, exactly, because we're not doing us a favor or them a favor, right? When there's a bad fit, when there's not skill alignment, because, they may be awesome in a different role. And so when we bring someone on who is not prepared for a particular role, who doesn't have the right fit, who doesn't have the right skill set competency base to be successful, when we're not in a position to support them to be successful in that role, certainly it's going to hurt us, right? We're going to have lost productivity. There could be team fallout. There could be all sorts of problems that result from that. But it's also bad for them. We're just not doing them any favors career-wise, because they're
100%.
not going to have success. And so really all the way around, no matter how we look at it, it's a failure. And so I know sometimes, people don't want, I don't know, people are looking for ways to be gracious and give people grace and to give people the benefit of the doubt. I love the growth mindset mentality. Awesome. Absolutely. But on the other hand, you also have to be realistic about, where someone's at and how far they can likely go, in the role that you're putting them in, and how quickly they can get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say there's some sort of a belief on both sides of the interviewing table that we're here to play our cards in a certain way, that I'm here to sell you on all the great stuff about the role and maybe not talk about the stuff that's difficult. And the candidate's like, I'm here to tell you all the wonderful things about me and kind of disguise the things that I struggle with. I encourage people on both sides of the table, be transparent. If there's something hard about the job, if you're the leader, you're the boss, you're the hiring manager, and there's something that's uniquely challenging about the job, let candidates know it. Do them the service of letting the ones who are not going to succeed in that environment self-select out. And by the way, there are people who are going to love the very thing that you think is most challenging about this job. People love challenges, right?
Yeah.
So I encourage, make sure this should be a two-way get-to-know-you process where we're both gathering data and trying to make a happy match, not trying to sell each other on only the positives and then end up in a situation that we both lose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Jordan, I know we've only started. We've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to talk about on this topic, but I also note the time and I need to let you get on with your busy day here in just a bit. Before we wrap things up for today, I wanted to give you a chance to share with the audience how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, your team, and then give us the final word for today.
Yeah, our firm is Talgo, and you can find us at talgo.io. We work with lots of investors, lots of high growth businesses, helping them learn how to become great, not just at interviewing, but at the whole sort of start to finish hiring process. I feel like this is an area where an organization can get real sustainable competitive advantage if you just avoid the mistakes that everyone else is making. Come check us out. We'd be happy to set up time, learn about your needs, and tell you more about how we might get you and your team trained up.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Some really great insights here. And again, we've only scratched the surface. So much more for you to explore with Jordan and his team. I invite the audience to reach out, get connected, find out more about what Jordan can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and please join us again soon.